On the landfill side of things, it's been a hot topic. Can Republic spend some of the Fortune 300 money on a new street sweeper for Jefferson Pike?
A new street sweeper?
Yeah, for Jefferson Pike.
It's not 1989 anymore. It's 2025. We should be recycling.
Hauling in the trash cans, and they're all full of Coke cans, and you just sit there and put them in.
And you get like a slow trickle of Coke out the bottom
Yes,
of the bag.
you would. Cody's cell phone number
Yeah.
I
I wouldn't do that to you, bud. Don't worry.
Watching this while I dump on the hill right now. So he's
Oh,
dumping
okay.
a truck.
Cheers
So,
to you, Blaine. Let us know how it's going on.
There you go. Hey, everybody, tuning in real quick. Give us this quick second to make sure we got all the... Yep, there it is. Hey, all right, we're good.
All right.
Awesome. Well, hey, everybody, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. We got a wonderful podcast, I should say open forum today, I guess we'll put it that way. It's the first time we've ever done it live with Mike Classen, who's the GM of Republic Services, i.e. the Landfill.
Yeah, great to be here.
Yeah, thank you for coming in and
Sure.
doing this live. You're a wonderful human for doing this with us. I appreciate it.
You make sure I tell everybody that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know, right? So, I'm just curious. Just from the grace of the topic at hand, are you? How do I word this? And just inherently, like, people look at you in a bad way, or is that? How does that like? Because you got to have some thick skin too. I know we were joking about that, but
Look, there's a long history of fatigue in this community with how Middle Point's existed over its history, right? And I firmly believe that we've sort of superseded a lot of those problems and have done a great job sort of getting back on the right side of things. But I don't blame folks. I mean, people have lived close to a landfill, and there's not always been a great amount of communication between us and the community.
I gotcha.
But look, I'm an environmentalist at heart. I've worked my entire life in either designing facilities that manage waste and protect the environment, or operating them. And so, I know where I stand, and my job is to just help communicate with the folks.
Okay. Now, when did you come into to the landfill? When did you take over?
I came up here in March of 2021.
21. Okay, I knew it was recent,
Yep.
more recent. Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. How's it been so far?
It's been great. We had a lot of work to do. Our first job, we went out. We met with a lot of people in the community. We met with a lot of county commissioners right off the bat, and we got some pretty direct feedback.
Yeah.
And that feedback was, you haven't always been a great neighbor, and there's a lot that we need from you. And we took that to heart. And so we spent the last 4+ years really focusing on getting our house in order, building relationships in the community, mitigating odor, those types of things, but also educating on like the environmental side of the things, the economic impact side of things. And so, that work continues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And you have to excuse me on that. I didn't mean that to come across rude. If I did, I
No,
apologize. No, because I've known you outside of here, and you're a very nice person.
Yeah,
and so,
I try to be, yeah.
And speaking of, for those watching, make sure give them a congratulations in the comments. You have a 2-month-old today.
Yeah,
right?
Literally turned 2 months. In fact, my wife is big on she bought these little discs that say 2 months old today.
Yeah, I
got
gotcha.
We've been posing him with pictures and all
of course,
that.
yeah.
So today was a big day. I haven't seen all the content yet, but I'm sure it's going to be gold.
Oh, I'm sure it's gonna. Yeah, that's right. That's right. You said this is your first, right?
It's our first.
Yeah.
Yep. Super excited. We were joking offline, so forgive my bags under my eyes. I've been struggling to find a few hours of sleep here and there, but it's all good.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Best
right.
thing in the world.
It is good. That's right. That's
He
wonderful.
just started smiling intentionally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so those that makes everything worth it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So if you hold them and play, and all of a sudden they start smiling, you're like, oh,
before
that's
there
for
were
me.
accidental smiles, and I was like, "Is that for me?" And it's like, "No, it wasn't. He just was doing it accidentally." But now I think it's mostly for his mom. But I get some every once in a while.
Yeah, like once in a while he throws me a bone.
That's right.
And,
That's right.
Awesome. So, but the on the landfill side of things, it's been a hot topic. Lots going on.
Yep.
So, where do you want to start with that? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason it's especially a hot topic now is because we're kind of coming to a point where we got to make a decision.
Okay,
We've been talking about this for a decade as a community, and myself for the last 5 years, I've been talking about this. What are we going to do? Middle Point is approaching the end of its life. Right?
Okay.
Its current permitted life has 4 years remaining from today, and 4 years seems like a long time, but
4 years from today.
4 years from today.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
But in the world of landfills, 4 years is really not that much time. It's going to take 2 years to permit something and 2 additional years to construct something. So the time is now to be making a decision about what does our future look like. I feel very strongly that this county has a significant asset in Middle Point landfill. We'll get into that a little bit here, but also recognizing the middle point of 30 years ago and the last 30 years cannot and will not be the middle point of the future. We have to do so much more. It can't be this massive landfill taking waste in from everywhere else and putting Rutherford County second. It can't be that. We don't have advanced recycling programs. We don't have good communication with the community. We don't have necessarily as strong of economic package as we could have. And so as the county is looking at what do we do with our waste next, I think what's really important is, the concept of solid waste independence was thrown out there at a recent press conference. And what solid waste independence is shipping our waste to another county and hoping they're going to take it, because all of Middle Tennessee is doing that exact same thing right now, right? So the next closest landfill where the county's transfer station is proposing to take the waste to is in Lewisburg.
Okay.
Right? 65 miles away. It's called Cedar Ridge. That site has 8 years of life left as of today. If all of the waste from Middle Point then cascades to there, that 8 years becomes 3 years, becomes 0 years, like that.
Okay.
And then the next closest landfill is in Camden, which is 125 miles away. So double the distance, double the cost.
Yeah.
So you're looking at just totally uncontrolled costs for residents, and that's going to come in the form of new taxes.
All right. Well, you just answered a couple of the questions that came in already from Mary. She's talking about how long before the landfill is full. So I think you got that one.
Yep, 4 years.
Yeah, and where's the next prospective location? You just hit that one.
Yeah.
And then she asked, what's being done about the stench? Or can we talk about that? Do you want to address that now?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, happy to talk about that. Always have been. And I think I even said it last time we were on, coming at it hat in hand, we didn't always do a great job of being a great neighbor and managing our odors on site. It's just like a wastewater treatment plant or any other piece of big infrastructure, right? There's going to be times when there's a little bit of odor from it or a little bit of nuisance coming from it. But our job is to manage that to the smallest amount possible. Okay. And so, we've spent the last 5 years invested nearly $25 million in controlling the gas that's generated as waste decomposes. We're in process of building a renewable natural gas energy plant on site, which is going to take that gas, clean it up, and inject it into the Atmos energy pipeline. All of those things is to collect the gas to prevent it from emitting into the atmosphere. And, I'd like to say that our efforts have really paid off. Our odor complaints that are coming in are down over 99% from when we started, which is awesome.
Well, that's 99%.
It's huge, right? Yeah. And we had a lot of them before too. So there's a long way to come down. But what I always say is our job is never done. And it's really important to emphasize that. We've made a lot of progress, and I think we're have really strong performance and results, but we got to keep your foot on the accelerator. Otherwise you can slide backwards. Yeah.
All right. Well, we got some more questions coming in here. Jason Bennett. I think the citizens of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County have. I'm sorry. There's lots of paragraphs on some of these questions, so I'm just trying to paraphrase here. Oh, here we go. Marvin Nutter. Excuse me. Explain how the county dumps for free, saving taxpayer money.
Sure. Yeah. Really good question. So there's two parts to that. So first, we have a host agreement. It's a contract with Rutherford County that allows us to exist in the county. All landfills have that with their host county. Okay. As part of that, the benefit that Rutherford County gets is all of the waste that goes to the convenience centers and from county schools. All of that waste comes to Middle Point for free. Okay. On top of that, anyone who lives in the city of Murfreesboro, all of your waste, even though you do pay a fee for it, and that fee's been going up and up and up, all of that waste that the city collects on city trucks also comes to Middle Point for free. Okay. So that's just part of the contracts that we have in place. And, as part of a longer term proposal, longer term master plan, we think that absolutely has to stay in place. Free, in the absence of that, in total, and we'll get to this, but MTSU recently did a study analyzing the economic impact of Middle Point. And what that said was on day one, if Middle Point were to close, between the city and the county, they're looking at additional $10 million every year just in disposal costs that are going to have to be borne by the taxpayers.
Okay. Gotcha. I may be jumping ahead here, but I know there's a plan that y'all were talking about that cuts that cost in half, right?
Yeah, so we actually presented this last night to the Public Works Committee of Rutherford County Commission, and we call it Rutherford County First. Okay. And the reason we do that is there's a sense, and probably not a wrong sense, that historically Middle Point hasn't served Rutherford County first. It served the rest of Middle Tennessee first. And so we had to change that. Okay. And And what that plan does is it's four main components. The first is economics, and economics rule the day here, especially in Rutherford County. An expectation that this landfill will make revenue for the county, but avoid unnecessary expenses. Okay. The total amount of economic value that the proposal has is $1.13 billion, billion with a B,
Okay.
over the next 50 years. That's a hard number to like wrap our heads around. I'm like, $1 billion. What does that even mean? It's about $23 million per year.
For the next 50 years?
For the next 50 years. And then when you break that down to households, it's over $200 per household every single year for every house in Rutherford County. But if you live in the city, it's closer to double that, again, because the city gets free disposal. So you're looking at $400 per year per household for every household in the city of economic value.
Okay.
But while we're talking about that vision we presented last night, we understand it has to be more than economics, right? And so we understand that this community is tired of feeling like they're the recipient of all of Nashville's trash.
I got you.
We hear you loud and clear. We've talked to a lot of people, a lot of leaders, and that's a core piece of it. And so what we're proposing is to actually reduce the amount of waste that Middle Point takes every single year by half. Okay. So literally cutting the size, the number of trucks, all of that stuff in half. And to do that, we agree to a cap on all the tons that come in from out of county. And we're volunteering to eliminate Metro Nashville's residential waste, the waste you pick up from all the curbs in Metro Nashville. They're our largest out-of-county customer currently, and we're proposing to eliminate them from coming to Middle Point. So
where would they go?
Great question. You know, look, there are options, but those options are a long way away, and it's going to cost people in Davidson County a lot more money than they're currently paying. Which is, by the way, the exact same outcome that people in Rutherford County face if we allow this asset to close.
Got it.
That's right.
Okay, I gotcha. So I overheard and I saw in a couple of these articles I read that this isn't. I know it's a big number that you threw out there, 1.13 billion, but this isn't like per se a buyout. You're looking for this is a partnership with the city, correct?
Yeah, partnership with the county first and foremost, but also the city is a beneficiary of that. So that's absolutely right. This is a partnership, and this all works better if we go in it together. And so there's some other components in their proposal, including a commitment to build new recycling programs, to construct, operate, and grow new recycling programs here in Rutherford County. So that's exactly right. This is a long-term partnership that's in the best interest of the deal needs to be in the best interest of Rutherford County first, and then help us be the vehicle to get us there.
All right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So I'll be honest, there's quite a few messages coming through here, and I'm trying to keep up with these and keep this going.
You're doing great.
This is again, folks, this is a first for us on the live forum here. So
like a pro.
I like a pro. Yes, thank you.
But
so I'm trying to keep these. Okay. So, well, anyways, I'll get to these here in a second. There's quite a few, but so part of that big plan. Fast forward, we're in a perfect world. Where would you see this coming out?
Say that one more time.
Like in your plan that you proposed.
Yep.
And so fast forward, I know that the 1.13 billion said over 50 years.
That's right.
So how long would it take to build a lot of the stuff that you're talking about, like the recycling centers and all that stuff? So I know that's not going to take 50 years, but so in a perfect world, how long would that take for you guys, and where do you see that helping?
I think the first thing to answer there is we're really desperate for feedback from County Commission on kind of what that timeline looks for them. Realistically, it would be within the next 5 years when a lot of these changes happen, where the new facilities get built, where the changes to the landfill operations happen. All of that would be relatively immediate. Again, landfill time is a little bit longer, elongated from the rest of ours. But the other thing that we're talking about as part of the Rutherford County First Vision is, between the land that we own, which is about 800 acres, and the land that Rutherford County owns, which is about 200 acres, we have over 1,000 contiguous acres sitting right there on the north side of Murfreesboro, all bounded by East Fork of the Stones River, that we're here saying like that's a once in a lifetime opportunity to do something really grand with. And we have some ideas of what that could be. And again, as Republic, as part of this vision, we are volunteering to pay for those ideas. But it could be anything from building 100 acres of park space and connecting over to the Stones River Greenway, building a softball complex out there to make revenue for the county, putting a career training center for drivers and welders and technicians and all of that stuff. Again, funded by all of those ideas are on the table, and those could happen in the next 5 years for sure. Okay. But again, just really, really eager for that feedback from leadership in the community on what's like their grandest vision for what 1,000 acres could be of prime real estate, and then let us try and help get there.
Okay. A couple of people just posted all kind of at the same time here about just water pollution ? So so going out there, getting closer to the river and all that. So what's going to be done to steer off that?
It's such a good question, and I appreciate, again, as I kind of started off by saying, it's something that I'm very passionate about. I'm a professionally licensed environmental engineer. This is all I've ever done. I truly care about protecting the environment. That's why I do what I do. And there's also a lot of misinformation out there about, throwing accusations that are just not founded in fact at all. So there's a couple things happening at this property. Number one, you have the closed Rutherford County landfill, which is an unlined landfill, meaning, landfills have liner systems on the bottom and the top to protect groundwater resources. That is the whole purpose of them. But old landfills that were constructed before modern regulations took place don't have that. It's not anything anybody did wrong or anything the county has done wrong. It's just that happens, right? And that landfill has documented, again, don't take my word for it. This is all available publicly on the state of Tennessee's TDEX data viewer. So all of this information is there. Anyone can fact check me if they want. That landfill has uncontrolled groundwater contamination and uncontrolled landfill gas migration subsurface. Okay. So there's some issues with that. Gotcha. Middle Point is a modern landfill. It has a modern liner containment system, and we don't have any of those problems. So we have a network of groundwater monitoring wells all around the perimeter of both those landfills. And we sample those twice every single year. Okay. And those samples are analyzed to say against like 150 different constituents that are known to be in landfill leachate, which is like the wastewater that comes from trash. And so they're sampled against that to say, is there any exceedance above an established groundwater protection standard for any of these contaminants? And for Middle Point, that answer is no. Okay. There has never been, and there is not any exceedance above groundwater protection standards, but it's a very important topic. And so, part of what our vision here that we communicated last night is, we want to help the county relieve the county of that environmental liability of the closed landfill, meaning we would put our modern engineering controls, removing all of that wastewater, removing the landfill gas that's being generated in the closed landfill to help mitigate the impact on the environment.
Okay. All right. Well, we got a one, it looks like from one of the drivers here. It says, what's going to happen to the small haulers when your caps are hit?
When our caps are hit.
Yeah, when you said like bringing in
it's a great question. So primarily our small haulers are all local guys and gals. So what we're proposing is a cap on all out of county waste, but not having a cap on Rutherford County generated waste. Okay. Again, the purpose there is we need Middle Point landfill to serve Rutherford County first. So we need to guarantee that appropriate disposal capacity is always available for the residents and businesses who operate here, because that's who gets hit the hardest. Like if the cost of disposal goes up, there's a dumpster behind this building and everybody's paying for trash. If that number doubles, you guys all double and you pass that on to your customers, right? Yep. And that's just the cascade of things. So if you're a local hauler in Rutherford County, this will be a good thing for you, right? You have guaranteed availability of disposal capacity for the next 50 years.
All right. Okay. We had one right here. Now, this is playing off what you just said. I think that you may have answered this already, but somebody wrote in and says, sportsmen are told that the fish should not be eaten that are caught near the landfill because in case there's pollution. So does that go back to what you were just saying a minute ago? For you guys have the line system and there's other. Okay.
Yeah, well, I'd even say a little bit more on that.
Sure.
So there's a fish consumption advisory in the East Fork of the Stones River for mercury, which exists way upstream of Middle Point landfill.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with those landfills, but that does exist there. As far as any contamination that's like originating from either of those landfills, to my knowledge, there is no fish consumption advisory related to any of that.
And mercury. Mercury. Isn't that mostly in tuna? We got tuna swimming up in
I don't
Stone
know. I think
River?
it's in the catfish, I think. So those big bottom feeders in the mud of the Stone East Fork, man. That's what those
Hey, I like
are.
some fried catfish.
Hey, me too. I absolutely
Some Louisiana
agree.
hot sauce?
Let's
Gotta
go.
have it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm a Tabasco man myself, but
Okay, all right. We won't hold that against you. Now, this one's more of a statement. I just want to hear your point on it.
Okay,
See what you
sure.
say. It says the commission doesn't care. They don't want the change for the better. They just want the money, not responsibility. It's a shame. There's no reason we don't turn the landfill into jobs and recycle or whatever to be better. So they're blaming the commission.
Yeah.
So nobody wants to change.
You know, the commission's in a hard spot for sure. I've interacted with nearly every single county commissioner in one-on-one meetings, plenty of public meetings, all of that. What I'll say is I've been very impressed with the Rutherford County Commission. I think that the commissioners are doing their best to act in the best interest of their districts. And those districts don't always have the same alignment on what they want. And the commission, to their benefit, have, I've never been given any sort of assurance that they have, are on board with what we're talking about, but they've always welcomed us to the table to say, you're a business operating in here, which again, according to this MTSU study, if Middle Point were to close, we would lose 242 jobs from Rutherford County, right? And that's real. That's impacting real people who live here. Yeah. And so, I think the commission is doing what they should be doing, which is they're open to talking to everybody and hearing everybody's plan. Okay. And I think if you listen to the Public Works Committee last night, I think there's some frustration, and I don't mean to speak for the commission at all, but I think there's some frustration maybe with the mayor's office that they're not getting that same willingness to really engage with all stakeholders and come up with the best plan for Rutherford County.
Yeah, I can say just on a personal note, we do a lot with the city, and we've been able to sit in on a lot of these meetings and stuff. And I will say they are definitely open, like you said. They meet with people, and they really do want the best for the county. And so it's like, people that say these comments that, they don't care. I'm like, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and with you guys too, that people don't see.
Yeah.
And so it's easy to jump to conclusions sometimes, I think, when people say that. And it's like, well, you didn't see the 120 hours they just put into trying to figure out this issue.
Yeah, sure. But the one thing that commenter did say that is so true is change is hard, right? Change is hard, and what we're proposing is a massive change, and it's a massive shift in how all of us, we have to change the way we think about waste. It's not 1989 anymore. It's 2025. We should be recycling as a community, period. And, really, I put that a lot on our elected leaders and us as well as individuals, to build some momentum about wanting to get those programs off the ground so we can run a modern waste management and recycling system.
Oh, yeah. So we got this one was new to me. It says $11.50 monthly solid waste trash hauling fee added to my water bill for each Murfreesboro household. How are these two related? That one's new to me.
Yeah, and it's actually going up. So if you look at the information put out by the city, that number I think is going up to like $33. So it's going to
from $11.50.
It's going to more than triple.
Okay.
And I think the reason for that, there was a lot of money that was trying to be built, is my understanding, in advance of maybe Middle Point closing, to help pay for the concept of this waste away project that was talked about a lot and now is sort of fallen away. But that is my understanding is to pay for the city collection services, but it has nothing to do with disposal, because if you live in the city of Murfreesboro, you get free disposal at Middle Point Landfill.
All right. We got another one here. It says, excuse me, as far as that lining you were talking about, it says, how thick is it and how is it monitored from not tearing or breaking down? Yeah,
great question. So it's called a composite lining system, which means there's multiple parts to it. So it starts with a geologic buffer, which is making sure you have 7 feet of compacted clay to a very certain specification to make sure water doesn't permeate through it above the groundwater table. Okay. Then you have a more structural recompacted clay liner on top of that. You have a high density polyethylene liner, which is like a really thick, 60 mil thick, like plastic that's fused together. They're like melted and fused together. So there are no seams. All of those seams are leak tested before they're constructed. And there's a couple more layers above that. And then there's some continuous monitoring that we have. Again, all of this is fully regulated by the state of Tennessee. We're inspected every single month, and they say they go to all of our different sumps, which are just pumps that are installed at the bottom of the landfill that are pulling all this liquid out all the time to make sure there's never more than 12 inches of liquid sitting on top of that liner system at any time.
Okay. All right. And then there have been a couple here I've seen come in, so I'm going to throw this out. It just says, what's the latest on the lawsuit? How's that stand?
Yeah, I really appreciate that question. I was sitting in the Public Works meeting last night and heard a commissioner, make some untrue statements, not saying it was intentional or not, about lawsuits. And so it's a great way to clarify. We as a Republic, we have not sued anybody. So we have been sued by the city of Murfreesboro for what's related to it's a chemical called PFAS, PFAS. Which is really complicated, and we can get into it. But the long and the short of it is it's not regulated by TDEC. It's not regulated by EPA. It's ubiquitous. It's in city wastewater. It's in domestic wastewater. It's in this plastic cup. It's in deodorant. It's in Teflon. It's in Gore-Tex. It's in everything that we see in the world around us. Okay. But it's really complicated because it doesn't break down. And that's why Teflon is so great, right? Because it doesn't break down, right? So 3M invented it, and it's ubiquitous in our environment. And so the lawsuit with the city is related to that specifically. I'm definitely optimistic that we're really close to getting that settled in a way that's amenable to both parties. But other than that, there is no legal matter between the Republic and Rutherford County. There's an appeal of a legal decision related to a regional solid waste board that's still ongoing, but that's not a lawsuit.
Okay, gotcha. I can't help. This one kind of makes me laugh a little bit, but I'm going to throw this one at you.
All right, let me have it.
No, it's all right. Here we go. It says, "Hi, Mike. It says, are you aware that people have died from pollution while swimming downstream at the landfill? Will you commit to going swimming at the old Walter Hill swimming spot to demonstrate that the river is not poisoned?"
That is a great question. I'm going to say two things. First is a serious answer, a very serious one, and then I'll answer the second part. So, there was, I'm going to say 3 or 4 years ago, a boy who was swimming in a stagnant pool of water that was around that Walter Hill Dam area. And he got like a bacterial infection and I think passed away or was critically injured and all of that. And that was exclusively from, swimming in stagnant pools of water is a dangerous thing to do no matter where you are and what you're doing. And so it was a really unfortunate situation, but that was absolutely not tied to anything related to the landfill. And I can assure you that if it was, based on how litigious everyone has been around here towards us, we would have gotten sued for it, which we didn't. The other thing, so putting that one to bed, that tire swing at the Walter Hill Dam, I have frequented that tire swing. So I don't want anybody to say that if this listener wants to come and, hop in our bathing suits and jump in, like I'm all for it. Let's make sure the water's not too high because I've seen it when it's pretty wild there.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I have all the confidence in the world in our environmental performance. And if we want to go swing on that tire and hop in that water, then let's do it.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So
let's do it. If you know the tire, the tire swing I'm referring to.
Yes, I know.
Okay. Yeah.
I drive by there all the time.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, you heard it, folks. He said it. That'll be our next video.
Let's do it. Yeah. Come on.
Well, it'd be a little cold right now.
Yeah. It's like a polar plunge. I'm not sure. Let's wait till June.
Oh God, yeah, that's right. We just did the polar plunge. Nice and cold. So,
I would peg you as an ice bath like a guy.
Oh man, I've done them, and well, the funny part is I was actually born in Alaska, so cold.
Is that right?
Yeah, but I mean, we moved when I was 7.
Okay,
so, but cold, I can handle the cold, but there's just a point where it's just too cold.
Yeah, it's not fun anymore.
And then you're like, okay, I want out. But we got Marvin asked, is there an incinerator in the future? Is that a possibility?
So an incinerator is not in any plans that I'm aware of. Okay. Incinerators come with their own set of environmental challenges, specifically related to air quality. They're really expensive. They're really hard to permit. Some communities have found success with them, but Nashville used to have an incinerator, if folks remember, like way back in the day, and that incinerator burned down, and it was a massive environmental catastrophe. And,
How ironic.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, definitely ironic that the incinerator burns down.
Yeah, right.
But what I will say is emphasize that Republic is not a landfill company. Like we're an environmental solutions, recycling, and waste company. Landfilling here in this community happens to be the most economical and environmentally responsible way to manage our waste. But the day that there's something that can magically turn waste into gold pellets or money or whatever else, you better believe that Republic, as a Fortune 300 company, is going to be on the front end of buying that technology and using it everywhere we can economically do it. Yeah. Right. And so, that's an exciting future. I'd like to hope that 50 years from now, we're not having this same conversation about landfilling, but, time will tell.
Yeah, I gotcha. We got another one here. It says, when you pump out the liquid from the bottom, where does it go?
So we have part of that agreement we have with the city of Murfreesboro, that liquid being that leachate that kind of percolates through all of the trash. We have a pre-treatment facility. So we actually have a wastewater treatment plant on site at Middle Point, where we treat all of that liquid and then we put it into the city of Murfreesboro sewer system. And then from there it goes to the wastewater treatment plant and it's just mixed with all of the other industrial and domestic wastewaters from the city of Murfreesboro.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Well, we finally hit towards the bottom of the comments here. They're still coming though. So we'll jump around a little bit if that's all right with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you want to jump back to the plan a little bit and talk a little bit more about that in depth? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So where do we leave off with that? I know we're jumping around a little bit.
Yeah, I think, so we talked about the economics, and the economics are a big deal. It's going to hit people's pocketbooks. And we talked about the
what was it? No more Nashville.
Yeah, the reduction in waste that we're taking. So, it's going to be a much smaller version of Middle Point. The two other, I think, really important components of that plan are, number one, and I kind of hit on it generally, but, we're making a commitment to build, operate, and grow recycling programs here in partnership with the county and hopefully the cities. And so it's a little undefined, and if it sounds that way, it kind of is, because the one thing we can't do as Republic, we can't generate the recyclables themselves, right? People have to do that, and they have to be incentivized to do that by elected officials. And so, we would propose to start small, do something like, all right, so for example, right now, the convenience centers all collect, you can bring your recycling to the convenience centers. County Solid Waste Department hauls all of those boxes through Nashville traffic to the north side of Nashville and pays someone to take that off our hands. The county is not making money on that agreement, right? Yeah. So instead of doing that, why don't we use the county's newly constructed transfer station as a hub, rather than put waste through it, act as a hub of recycling, bring all those recyclables to the transfer station, cut out a ton of operational efficiency with reduction in traffic time, and then we could bail, like an easy sorting and bail that material and then sell it ourselves and actually turn an expense into a revenue for the county. So that's an example of a recycling program that's small. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but you gotta start with steps.
It's baby steps. Yeah,
it's when you start from nothing, you gotta take some baby steps. Yeah. The other piece of what we proposed last night, or the vision we laid out last night, is I put myself in all of everyone's shoes who have lived here their whole lives, and leaders of the county commission. And if I'm putting myself in their shoes, I'm saying, yeah, sure, you invested all this money now, and you've fixed the odor, and you're being a good neighbor, and you're interacting with our school system and all that stuff. But that's because you want something from us, right? I gotcha. And what do we do to ensure that in the future you can never slide back to the sort of good neighbor performance that things used to be? And I think that's a fair feedback. And so what we're proposing to do is have the county commission create what we're calling an environmental accountability council. And what that group would do, appointed by the commission, is in our new contract with the county, there would be very clear requirements and standards prescribed on what it means to be a good neighbor. Okay. Things like the things that TDEC doesn't regulate, things like odor and dust and litter and all of those types of things. And if we don't meet those standards, there would be teeth and some punishment in those contracts to make sure that we are always held accountable. You know what? I'm not going to be here forever, and neither is anyone else, right?
Yeah.
And 50 years from now is a long time, and we have to make sure it's ironclad that this community feels like they have control and knows 100% that they're going to have a good neighbor in Middle Point Landfill long into the future.
Yeah, and maybe we can touch on it later, but I know some of the things you have done in the community that are definitely good neighbor status.
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
So we'll hit on that here in a little bit.
Okay,
but,
yeah, sure.
Well, like what you've done for some schools here, we all know. So for those out there who haven't seen it, we'll get back on that. But it's more questions come in. We had can Republic spend some of the Fortune 300 money on a new street sweeper for Jefferson Pike?
A new street sweeper?
Yeah, for Jefferson Pike.
Yeah, I mean, so we street sweep, throughout every single day. We have 2 different sweepers we use based on the type of weather that's happening, sweeping internal roads and external roads. Managing track out is a really, really critical part of what we do. And it's a really high traffic area. Yeah. And I know that people get frustrated with getting stuck behind the street sweeper. In fact, it's really funny. We have a great partnership with Walter Hill Elementary. Yeah. And I think at one point, the time that we were street sweeping was interfering with drop-off time for parents.
Oh, I gotcha.
And so kids were like being slightly delayed. And so like they were just like, hey, can you sort of not sweep during these times? Which we did, and I think helped alleviate that problem. But yeah, I mean, the street sweeping, you also see our employees out there. We pick litter from 7.5 miles of roadway and look, that's straight up, that's not our litter, right? That's litter coming from all of the businesses that are operating in this county that are bringing waste to the landfill. But we take ownership of that because we understand that it's part of what means being a good neighbor. So we pick up, you'll see our guys out there every single morning. We have a team of 4, and they're out there picking litter from 7.5 miles of roadway every single day. They got their boots are worn down. That's for sure.
I would say so.
Yeah. That's for sure.
Just funny comment, Blaine. Watching this while I dump on the hill right now. So he's
dumping okay.
a truck.
Cheers to you, Blaine. Let us know how it's going up there.
You go.
Yeah. Appreciate you being a customer.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then here we go.
But don't watch and drive at the same time, Blaine. So I'm gonna put
maybe he's just listening.
Yeah.
Just have it go.
But not be one of my employees. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, no. We got it says what do we do with our recycling now? Does it go to the landfill?
Yeah. So right now, there's a couple different parts to that. If you take your recycling to the convenience centers, that's getting hauled to the north side of Nashville right now. Now, a lot of folks, since there's not a formal recycling program in the city of Murfreesboro, a lot of folks are paying someone to come collect those recyclables for them, like a third party. So those are taken to any number of different places. It is not going to the landfill. I can assure people that. But on that topic, we talked about raising the sewer fee that was referenced from $11 to whatever $33. Yep. Like for half of that cost, the city could put a recycling cart at every single home and immediately have curbside recycling and cut the amount of waste going to the landfill overnight. And I've heard some city leaders kind of say, well, we don't want to recycle because it'll just make Middle Point last longer. And it's like, man, that is not the right way to think about things.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, dang. Okay. that one took me off guard. I wasn't
yeah. Sorry. So I
didn't
mean to. But like those curbside recycling programs, $10 a month per household. Those happen. Those work. Like we do it all over the country.
Yeah.
And we just need that partnership with the city to say, this is important to us, and it's important to our constituents to recycle our waste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or what are those? You ever remember when I was little? At least we had these where we lived. Those like Coke cans, for example.
Yeah.
The little when you go into the grocery store, they have all those kiosk things, and you feed them in. And you get 5 cents back for each one. I know we're paying the 5 cents ahead of time. We're just getting it back later. But
that's right. But it feels good.
As a little kid, though, I had so much fun, and my parents let me do that. And I was like, I got $4 today, or whatever off the cans. But I mean, I would actually, as my friends and I, we would go door to door to our neighbors and get their cans.
Love that.
And because they knew we were the little kids, whatever. But we're trying to get spending money or whatever.
Yeah.
But they would give it to, and we would go, man, we'd recycle like crazy. I was like, I wonder if something like that would work, or is that?
I love the idea that you're like the path you're going down of like. So we went last year and we did a big like presentation and participated in some of the STEM curriculum at Siegel Elementary. And what it just dawns on me every time we're in front of fifth graders, and we had them out to the landfill, took them for a tour, all that kind of stuff, is that's where we start. Like, you don't educate the parents, you educate the fifth graders who will educate the parents. Like, you have your fifth grader nagging at you every time you throw something in the wrong bin. Like, that's going to whip you into shape pretty quick, I think.
Yeah, right.
So I think you're absolutely right with that direction, is like, starting with the kids on an education and then working from there.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, I just remember I had so much fun with that.
That sounds like a great memory. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I distinctly remember hauling in the trash cans, and they're all full of Coke cans, and you just sit there and put them in.
And then you get like a slow trickle of Coke out the bottom of
yes,
the bag.
you would. Yeah. And then you're all sticky, and you're like, but I got $20.
That's right.
Yeah, I remember the first time I purposely saved up for like a month or something, because to get $20 out of 5-cent cans, it's a lot of Coke cans, man. Let me tell you. And so, but my neighbors and stuff. But yeah, I remember I was so excited. Mom and Dad would go grocery shopping, and I just sit there and I got $20.
Yeah,
oh my God,
that's awesome.
Yeah, drink 1,000 Cokes or whatever it was.
Right, just all jacked up on sugar.
I know,
but you got
jacked up on Mountain Dew.
Yeah,
all right.
there you go. There you
so,
go.
we got. Did we touch on this one? Is there plans for adding convenience centers with all the additional houses that have been built in Rutherford County?
Honestly, that's a great question for the county. Okay. The county manages all of those convenience centers. Certainly I think it has to be in the plans. I know they're going through a big capital improvement project right now where they're sort of renovating and expanding a lot of those centers. Yeah. But a lot of those centers are located in, if everybody's ever gone to those centers, especially like after a holiday or on a Sunday, like there's lines out the centers sort of all the way onto streets, blocking traffic. And there's a real demand, again, because it's free and people appreciate the economics of that. There's a real demand for more availability of those centers. And I know that's something that's on the county's radar.
Okay. Gotcha. Here we go. Gosh, sorry, they just keep coming in over here. I'm trying to keep up.
Yeah.
So we got, what plans are in place for the further odor controls? That one keeps popping up.
Yeah. Like I said, our job is never done as it relates to odor. So we're going to continue. We're doing a construction project for our gas collection system twice every single year, spending millions of dollars to stay on top of that. The construction of our renewable natural gas energy plant is going to be a big thing, because all of a sudden we have, if you think of it sort of like a bottleneck at the back end, you have this an incredible amount of new incentive to feed this new investment. And so not that we're skimping on anything right now or any of that, but I think there's just going to be even more attention on gas collection and getting as much gas as possible to that plant. So obviously offsite odors is the most important thing, but it never hurts to have some other incentives sort of complementing those efforts.
All right, cool. Man, all right. I think we caught up on the questions, because a lot of the questions coming in are duplicates. People are kind of asking the same thing, so I'm trying to moderate these.
No, that's great.
I can't, because there's quite a few coming through. But okay, all right. So did we talk on the whole plan? Did we discuss everything on that?
I think we hit on the whole plan. On the economic side, so we had, and I brought a couple copies for you, leave them behind.
Thank you.
So we. MTSU, Jones College of Business, did an economic impact study, sort of just analyzing Middle Point's business and what it would look like if Middle Point no longer were in business here. And I think I said earlier, part of that is 242 jobs.
A lot of jobs.
But it's also $52.7 million of business revenue. So that's $52.7 million annually of direct economic impact to businesses, and $16.5 million of wages would be wiped out if Middle Point were no longer in existence. So those are big numbers, and those are important numbers. The other piece of that we kind of touched on is if Middle Point were to close today, how much more is it going to cost the city and the county? And that number, this study estimated about a $90 per ton for managing a transfer station, paying the debt service on it, transferring it out of state or out of county, and disposing it. $90 per ton, about $10 million per year of new costs to the citizens of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County if Middle Point were to close. So again, that's a study done by the Jones College of Business, and that's all available on their website. And as well, I should point out, all of this information we're talking about, the little booklet, as well as the presentation that we gave last night at Public Works, it's all available on our website, middlepointlandfill.com.
Okay.
I emphasized it when I spoke last night, but I'd love to say it again. We've met with nearly every county commissioner, mayor's office, solid waste department, chamber of commerce, WGNS, you all, internal and external stakeholders everywhere, held 10 open houses around the community, hundreds of door knocks, hundreds of phone calls. Like this has been the most, and it's important to us that it is the most transparent process possible, an inclusive, collaborative process possible. I think that stands on its own.
All right. Well, I know you have to run in a little bit. You get your little one.
Yeah,
but,
you're
got
good.
a few more minutes?
Yeah, I sure do. Yeah.
Okay,
as much time as you want. You got it.
This one's come up a couple times. Just says, is it possible to improve the dump face roadways?
Yeah, good. So we do have some haulers out there who are listening in.
Yep.
Those roads, customer experience is super important to us. We want to get people in and out of Middle Point landfill just as quickly as possible. Some days are better than other days, but we pride ourselves in that turn time for our customers. So you all can go out and take care of your customers and pick up their trash. Roads are a tough thing on landfills because landfills are always settling, right? So the waste is decomposing differentially. So it might be settling over here and bumping up over here. And so you can't build a concrete road or an asphalt road because it'll just absolutely get destroyed. So all of our roads are made out of aggregate and you have to maintain them all day, every day. But what I will say is, because I think that question came from a customer who obviously frequents the landfill. What I'll say is y'all have Cody's, our operations managers, contact information. Cody's your guy, and Cody is he's a Murfreesboro native. He's super responsive to what customer needs are. So, we don't always see maybe a road is in rough shape before you do as a customer. Holler at us. Like we're there all day, every day. We're there to support you. So give Cody a call. And if you don't have Cody's number, ask one of our operators, and they'll give you Cody's number. I swear.
Here, Cody's cell phone number
Yeah.
is
I wouldn't do that to you, bud. Don't worry. Yeah.
We'll post. Yeah. Put that up on the screen. No, I'm just kidding. That's all. We have one here. It says, "Is there any way that you could ever add grass or trees to the areas that are full?"
Yeah. So eventually, the idea of landfills is when they're at final elevation, they will get what's called a final cover, which is like the same liner that we talked about on the bottom goes on the top. Okay. And then we will permanently grass those, and it'll look like a nice big green hill. Until we get to their final permanent elevations. We'll probably do like temporary seeding, but it's not going to be a nice, clean look. Unfortunately, you're not allowed to plant trees on landfills because those deep root systems will actually damage the liner system. So as far as like big woody vegetation or trees or anything like that, it's just going to be a big grassy hill forever. And look, that's such an important point too is, I mean, if we all look back and are like, man, would we have put Middle Point at this location, knowing what we know now about the growth of Middle Tennessee 30 years ago?
Yeah.
Probably not, right? But the reality is it's there, and it will, even if we put a padlock on the front gate of Middle Point tomorrow, it will always be Mount Trashmore, right? It will always be there. It will always be producing gas. It will always be producing wastewater. And then there'll be 2 transfer stations operating there because this county will build one and then we'll build one. And then all of those trucks are still going to be coming in and out, bringing trash to the facility. They're just not going to be putting it at Middle Point. They're going to be putting it in new trucks and have a double amount of trucks hauling it out. So, I think it's really important. I think there's like an aspirational view of like Middle Point will be gone forever. And the reality is Middle Point will never be gone. And so I think it's my job to create sort of the best possible scenario where we turn Middle Point into an asset, understanding it is where it is, limit the impact on the community as much as possible, but do our best to do that.
You had said, excuse me, I can't remember the term you used, but like when it's compressed to its lowest level. Yeah. Right. So I'm just throwing out a number here. Don't quote me on this, guys out there, but let's just say the landfill is 100 feet high. Is there like a mathematical way to figure it out, or how low does that compress? So, or does it depend on what's there, or?
Yeah, all of those things. So you're hitting on all the right ways to look at that. Yeah. There's a lot of soil in the landfill as well because we cover with soil as we go, and that will never degrade and never compress. And there's a lot of other non-degrading material in there. Okay. So if the landfill is, let's call it 200 feet tall, it'll probably settle to around call it 100 160 feet, but
Okay.
it's still going to be a massive hill
Yeah.
forever.
But a 40-foot settle on a hill that size, that's a lot.
It is a lot,
Yeah, so-
but then what we would probably do is we'd go put waste back in that 40 feet because then we can maximize it, and then it probably won't settle quite as much.
Yeah.
It settles several feet per year.
Okay.
All the time, and we monitor that every quarter.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's probably a dumb question, but is there a limit to how high you can go?
Not a dumb question at all.
Okay.
There is. So we are an extremely highly regulated facility with the state of Tennessee, and rightfully so, right? We should be. All landfills should be. And as part of those regulations, we have a permit that says your footprint can be this big, you can build your slopes this steep, you can go this tall, and it's like an exact geometry of what your final landfill can look like.
I got you.
So that is all in a permit with the state of Tennessee, and we're bound to adhere to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Todd asked, he just said, what are the odds or the chances of a fire?
Fires can happen at landfills. They happen more frequently sort of after 4th of July, after Father's Day, after times when people are a lot of times throwing hot coals away or fireworks.
Oh, okay.
We have a problem, and the whole waste industry has kind of a problem with lithium-ion batteries where those are thrown away and then they get crushed and then they have a chemical reaction and get really hot. And so, fires can happen. I think, the last fire that we had was, I think, Father's Day of 2022.
Okay.
I remember that because my parents were here visiting, and I had to leave Father's Day cookout to go to the landfill.
I gotcha. Okay.
I remember it pretty vividly, but it's a reality of managing a landfill. It's something we work really hard not to let happen. But when it does, we have all the equipment on site to handle it very quickly.
I think I actually remember that, and because I lived not far from there at the time. And I remember there was fire department came out and everything. And it actually, I think you all handled it pretty quick.
Yeah.
Didn't you?
Yeah.
So is that just like as far as the precautionary stuff? I mean, I would imagine the fire department could be there.
Yeah, well, luckily,
right away.
Luckily the Norfolk County Fire Department is literally right there. It
Right,
actually sits on land that like is totally adjacent to us. So they're there. Sometimes they know we have a fire before we know we have a fire. So they see it. And
guys, we got you.
Yeah,
Hold
they'll
on.
call us and be like, "Hey, you got a fire, but we're here, and you guys," because they usually don't do because. What you don't want to do actually is spray water on a landfill fire because if it's a chemical fire, potentially, water can react with it and make it worse. So the idea is you just smother it with soil and keep an eye on it for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have some persistent questions on the who to call when the smell gets bad.
Yeah, well, depending on who the person is, I think a lot of those people have my cell phone number already, and they do reach out to me. I would say we also have a portal that we take order complaints on our website, middlepointlandfill.com, which they can certainly submit it on. And I'd love to learn more about what they're experiencing. So we have a network of 10 continuous air monitors all around the perimeter of Middle Point, where we know at all times what gases are or are not coming off of the facility, in what direction the wind is coming from, if there's a spike in something that could be contributing to an odor. We also have done a really robust evaluation of the entire community where we paid a consultant, a third-party engineer for 3 days a week for 7 or 8 months. At night from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. to go to 26 locations all around Murfreesboro to say, we were trying to figure out, if we are the source of this odor, we want to fix it and we want to understand it. Yeah. But we also want to understand maybe we're not the source of this odor necessarily.
I gotcha. Yeah.
And this is not me discounting what people are experiencing or anything like that. But what I'll say is, very clearly there are other odor sources. Like if you've ever been at a football game at Oakland High School, there on DeJarnette, and smelled something that smelled like sewer gas, and you're like, that landfill, they're ruining it. 100% that was coming from the city of Murfreesboro sanitary sewer system lift station. There on the corner of DeJarnette, right by Oakland High School. 100%. And so there are other sources of odor in the community, and so it just helps us understand. If we have a problem, we want to fix it. Yeah. And I make that commitment all the time. And so yes, if you're one of our neighbors who has my cell phone, you can reach out to me.
There you go.
Otherwise, hop on our website and let us know what you're experiencing.
Okay. And Mike's cell phone is.
Yeah.
You're like, no.
That one might not be good. Yeah.
I'm curious on the study you just mentioned, how far out did you find, and how do you, let's just say you go across town and you smell something. How do you match that with the landfill when it's so far away, when there's so many other factors that it could be in the middle? Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah,
Okay.
it does. So this is like, there's odor is so subjective.
That's yes. Thank you. You said it
it's
better.
so subjective, and so there's only one way to analyze and like analytically document odor, and that's what's called it's called a nasal ranger. You have to look it up. It's pretty hilarious.
Okay, all right.
It's got like, you hold it like this. It's like a little, like a big schnoz that comes off of your nose basically, and it has a carbon filter on it, and you dilute air through a carbon filter and figure out how strong of an odor it is. Well, so the way that we would do that is, you go to all these locations, you know what direction the wind is coming from. If you detect something 8 miles away, first of all, 8 miles away is not going to be from Middle Point. Like the odor is not going to travel that far. But if you detect something 8 miles away, and then at 5 miles and 3 miles you didn't detect anything, then you can pretty well say without a shadow of a doubt that odor is not going to jump over 3 and 5 miles and get to 8. Right? It's going to move with the wind. Yeah. And so that's kind of how we would do that analysis, is characterize where we were, because we found some spots where we were getting offsite odors from Middle Point, and I'm not we're always own up to that. But there were a lot of instances where it was sort of like skipping areas or pinpointing to a certain industrial activity or something like that we could characterize it to.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a guy who's been commenting, Marvin. I think he's one of your drivers.
Okay.
Actually, thank you, Marvin, if you're catching this, because I've seen your comments. He's actually been answering a lot of the questions.
Has he? Okay,
yeah,
awesome.
And it's cool. Like you all, I'm reading his comments and listening to you, and they're identical pretty much.
That's awesome.
No, but he's actually been helping. So thank you, Marvin. But he just commented and said the landfill gets the blame for the sewer odors a lot. He said, however, that being said, the landfill definitely smells at times. It even lingers in my truck after visiting. So. But that was just a statement by him. But
there you go. Okay. Thanks, Marvin.
We have another guy that jumped in and said, please consider a concept of a waste to energy conversion plant, cost/revenue.
Yeah. The city of Murfreesboro spent a lot of money evaluating that, millions of dollars, in fact. And I think even though they haven't come out and said it publicly, I think that idea is not happening, right? Because it just, first of all, the technology isn't there. If it was, other communities would be doing it, and they're not. And also the economics aren't there. When you're looking at free disposal, when you have to start paying someone $70, $80, $90, $100 to take your waste. And the other hard thing about waste is it's like a faucet you can't shut off, right? It is coming. The trucks are coming. The people are coming. They're dumping, and it's complex. Like you might get an engine block mixed with diapers sometime, right? It's like crazy stuff. Yeah, absolutely. People throw away the wildest things.
Really?
And when that goes through a process like that, that's meant to handle like a homogeneous, like really normal, steady state stuff, it'll just absolutely destroy it. So a lot of times what you'd see is like, okay, we have this waste energy facility. It goes down. The waste is stacking up. Now we got to haul it to a landfill anyway. And that's the only one place that we can consistently guarantee we can handle any and everything that's brought to us. Yeah.
It's like laundry. It's just never ending. Why does that happen? You're like, I just did that load of laundry. Where did this come from?
That's true.
Anyways,
that's true.
Oh, and sorry, one more shout out to Marvin. He actually owns his own hauling business, and he's been working with you guys for about 7 years.
That's great. What business is it? Will he tell us?
Marvin, put it in the comments. And actually, Blaine Jones as well does the same thing. Thank you. Blaine has been commenting as well.
Awesome.
These guys, hey, you got some. Thank you guys. Appreciate your help.
Yeah, appreciate both of you guys very much.
We got one that says, why not have a two approach capacity? I'm guessing, was that in, Richard, was that in lieu of your previous question? Yes. Okay. Sorry. They're just like a whole flood just came in, and I was like, oh, where'd it go? I lost it.
You're right.
I'm
loving it.
Well, here, actually, I know you touched on this one earlier, but this one came up again. If you don't mind, just one more time. This is, where's the recycling sorting center for this area, and how far does recycling travel before processing?
So the recycling sorting center for this area is River Hills Recycling Facility on the northeast side of Nashville. And that will get sorted into all of its various commodities, and then bulked and then sold off. And it kind of goes all over the place based on where the best cost, where the best revenue is for those materials. There's some other facilities like in sort of like the southern part of Nashville that do cardboard only. So, and those are more like Pratt Recycling is one of those, where like a lot of the boxes that you see are made by Pratt. So they're taking cardboard and repurposing it into cardboard. So they'll like consolidate it all there and they'll haul it to Chattanooga, where a lot of their facilities are, and then work that way. But there is no recycling facility in Rutherford County.
Okay.
That's part of the problem. And that's part of why what we're proposing is to build one of those here. There's enough people with enough affluence and enough interest and enough desire to recycle that we should be doing it.
Right. Yeah.
And so when we talk about waste, like a waste to energy, that's like, we're going from 1989 to the year 2300. Like, why don't we go from 1989 to 2030 and get ourselves modernized in something that we know works and is proven economically viable?
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, you kind of just answered, going back on the one that says, why not have the two approach capacity? He was referring to a waste to energy plant with a backup landfill. So you kind of answered that a second ago.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then, Blaine and Marvin, it's Marvin's Hauling and Jones Junk Removal. So
awesome.
Thank you guys. Appreciate your services.
Yeah, appreciate everything you're doing for your customers. Yeah.
But okay, well, I know I stretched this a little long because I know
great.
You're on a time constraint.
No, all good.
Well, you got a new baby. I know you got to go home.
I do, and I can't wait to go see him and get one of those smiles.
All right, cool.
Yeah,
well,
that's right.
Before we wrap up, do you have anything you want to say or anything for everybody watching? You got a bunch of comments in here, and for one, I appreciate everybody tuning in and presenting the questions. Thank you. Anything else you want to throw out there?
Yeah, I would just want to reiterate that we've had a long history here in Rutherford County, and it has not always been, it's been rocky at sometimes, right? But the reality is that it's time to do things differently as a county. And what we're proposing, this Rutherford County First Plan, is not a status quo plan to expand the landfill and operate exactly like we have been forever, right? It's a plan that's entirely tailored based on what people here have told us you want and need in a waste and recycling system. And so far, it's the only plan that anyone is talking about. Yeah. And I think we need to be really careful about, forming new and additional committees and talking about. It's like the time to take action on this is now. Otherwise, this community is legitimately facing significant increases to taxes in the very near future. So, we're excited. We're really, really optimistic about our conversations with Rutherford County commissioners. If you think that what we're talking about here today is a good idea, and you can sort of get behind the economics and the recycling and the limiting out of county waste and the environmental accountability and all of those things, like I would say, please call your commissioners and tell them you think it's a great idea because, they're acting in the interest of their constituents. And so we're also eager for feedback. That same portal, if you go to our website, middlepoint.com, you can find all this information, but you can also email us. And if you have other ideas or suggestions about maybe what a future looks like let us know. We're all ears. We're part of this community and we want to hear from you.
There you go. All right, cool. Well, we really appreciate your time and coming and doing this with us
Yeah,
live.
you bet.
And again, for our viewers, thank you for bearing with me. This is my first time doing it live. And
knocked it out of the park.
There was we're on a slight delay over here, so all of a sudden it would be like all these comments. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
And so trying to keep up with that. But hey, this is fun. We can do it again. So would you ever come back and we can do an update later?
100%. Yeah, right, I'm always happy to be here.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And again, middlepointlandfill.com if anybody wants more information. And there you go.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
See
you on the next one.
Thanks.